All right. Thank you so much for being part of this session, ladies and gents. Long-awaited session from the beginning. Please let me know whether you can see my slide.
Yes, we can, Tamela.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Tumelo Nhlapo. I'm a science facilitator here at UNISA Science Engagement Center. Before I introduce robotics and environmental sciences, I would like to first highlight some few important things about our Science Center. So we are the UNISA Science Engagement Center, which is a recently accredited science center. We are based here in NB Bijana Building at Block A in Florida Science Campus in Johannesburg. And within the UNISA Science Engagement Center, we have what we call Inspired Towards Science Engagement Center, which is Inspired Towards Science, Engineering, and Technology, which is ISET, which is one of our robotics projects. And this is a community engagement flagship project of the CSET, which is College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. And the aim is to inspire awareness and interest in the fields of science, engineering, and technology. So here at UNISA Science Engagement Center, we offer robotics opportunities for our learners, robotic coaches, educators, facilitators, visionary community leaders as well. We also offer free online training, and these free online trainings, we have what we call the massive open online courses. But before the free online training, we also have our ISET robotics live online learning sessions, which we offer also for free. So this is part of them. And I guess you have seen through the events calendar as well. And we also offer a question and answer session for all MOOC related queries every Fridays at 3 p.m. And if you need more information, I'm going to kindly ask you to send us an email. I'll show you where to get the email. We also offer campus visits, and part of the campus visits include our short learning programs. So these short learning program students that are currently registered for the NQF Level 5 short course that we also offer. And within these courses, we allow students to come and do their practicals using the robotics kits. And this also includes the ISET MOOC students. This is very important for them so that they can practicalize what they've learned as well. And we also offer school visits. So our team may visit your school by invitation, or we can come for a day or visit for 3 days. You can also send us an email regarding that. We also have holiday programs. So on our holiday programs, yes, someone is unmuted there. Liana, you are muted. Kindly unmute yourself, please. There we go. We also offer holiday programs. So on these holiday programs, the registration details for the programs are available on our monthly schedule, which is these live online learning sessions as well. All right. Once again, thank you so much and welcome to Robotics and Environmental Sciences. Now here, we are going to do it different than the previous sessions that we once hosted. So what's going to happen now, I'm going to share with you, encourage you to be part of these sessions that we normally host. But before that, let me share my screen again so that I show you something. So part of the Robotics and Environmental Sciences course, which is found in the MOOC, here we introduce the history of robotics. This is where we touch on things like the history of robots, the different types of robots that are used in the different environmental sciences fields. This can include your agriculture, your geography, your conservation, as long as it's within the environmental sciences space. So here we're trying to say that the technology that we are currently using is very important, and it's contributing to address some of the issues that we are currently experiencing within the environmental sciences industry. And we get to explain to some individuals what is environmental sciences, or they get to get an understanding of what is environmental sciences. And with my speakers that are coming up, they'll also explain some of the technological devices or some fields within environmental sciences, so that you can understand what is environmental sciences in a practical way. And then there's also different types of robots that contribute to the environmental sciences industry that you get to understand, and the design of robots that are used to solve issues that are facing climate change and other environmental issues. So without wasting time, I'm going to go to that slot so that I can show you what I'm talking about. So I hope you got those learning outcomes figured out, or you know what the learning outcomes are. If not, that's still fine. So before I continue on that, I want to share something with you so that you can get a clear understanding. So I hope even Dr. Hoos is watching this, because here I'm hitting 3 birds with 1 stone. So on this section here, I'm going to introduce what we call MOOCs. We have what we call the Massive Open Online Course. So this Massive Open Online Course is a learning opportunity for any individual. You don't have to be a UNISA student in order for you to be part of this MOOC or these free online courses. And as I've indicated, this is part of our training and development courses that we offer for free as well. So now, if you have never joined these sessions before and have never been part of these MOOC courses, what you simply do, you go to your Google tab, simply type MOOC UNISA, then you click on New Account. Once you click on New Account, you are going to fill in your details. So you'll notice that there's that part where it says user ID. So there on user ID, you don't put on your ID number. You put on, for example, you'll say Tumelo123. And then on your first name, you put in your first name, your last name, as well as your email address. So please note that your email address that you're going to insert here is the email address that we are going to use to send you your certificates once you've completed the MOOC courses. As well as we encourage you to put in your password and to remember it. Another thing is that we encourage you to ensure that whenever you are completed with filling in all those details, please take a picture. The reason why I'm asking you to take pictures, it is because some of you might mistakenly perhaps forget your user ID or your email or your password. So it's better for you to keep it in a safe place. Once you're done, you click on Create. Once you've clicked on Create, this is the first page that you're going to see. Now on this first page that you're seeing here, there's a part where it says Membership. Once you click on Membership, this is where you'll have to go. So for some of you that are not using a computer, you will have to click on Tools in order for you to see those tabs that are underneath the UNISA logo, the ones that I'm highlighting right now. So what you're going to do, when you click on Membership, it will write that you are not registered or you have not joined any site yet. That is fine, don't panic. What you simply do, you go to Joinable Sites. Let me highlight this section. There we go. You simply go to Joinable Sites. Once you go to Joinable Sites, you click on Robotics and Environmental Sciences. Then you'll have to scroll down looking for Robotics and Environmental Sciences. If you don't find it, you go on the search tab and you click on Robotics and Environmental Sciences. Once you find it, you click on Join, and it should appear on my current sites. When it appears on my current sites, the way it has appeared on my site, what you do, you click on it. When you click on it, this is where the fun part begins. So here you will get an introduction or an overview of what environmental sciences is all about, as well as the aim of this MOOC. So as I've indicated earlier on, we are introducing the first unit, which is called Robotics and Environmental Sciences, the introduction. Where will you find it? Before I go into that, I'm going to first show you this section. For example, when you click on syllabus, this is underneath the UNISA logo. Underneath the UNISA logo, when you click on syllabus, this is where you're going to get some interesting documents. For example, the Robotics and Environmental Sciences Overview document, as well as the template for your submissions as well. And we've got a very interesting document, which is called the South African Environmental Observation Network. You can find sources also there. We also have the My 2050 Environmental Calendar, calculator, as well as we have the environmental calendar, some few environmental news that we have, and ocean games. So some of these are not, for example, the environmental news, they are updated every month. So if there's something trending in terms of the environment, I'm going to encourage you to please send us an email saying that, so on what you're going to do on the subject line, you're going to say Robotics and Environmental Sciences, and then you simply say news flash, or perhaps you say news for the month, or this is interesting, or perhaps you can say, please touch on this on the next session. For example, at this moment, we have cockroaches that are invading some parts of South Africa and some different parts of the country. You can send us that and say, please touch on this so that you educate us more. Or you can say that we have found this interesting drone that is currently being used for poaching. Please talk about this. So those are the things that we're going to highlight. And this is where we're going to keep the community to be at one. For example, look at this one. Here, it's the University of Joburg. Here, what they did, they created a smart agriculture to create a 3D, from smart agriculture to 3D printed houses. This is the fourth industrial revolution tech that can help combat climate crisis. For example, as we all know that the economic growth and climate action can be pursued concomitantly through innovative thinking. So the convergence of such technologies for this 4R and the mindset that goes with them, this includes things such as these. So what these guys did, they are building a house. They are building a house using a 3D printer. So I'm going to share with you some few links that one can also touch on so that you can be part of this robotics and environmental sciences community as well. Let's see this one. And then there's another one where it says 7 ways the fourth industrial revolution can help the planet. So these are some of the interesting reads that one can pursue as well. This can be for interest sake, or this can be part of the learning units that we have here. So as I've indicated, I can go on this part of the environmental news, but now I want to go to Unit 1. So here on Unit 1, it says Introduction to Robotics and Environmental Sciences. As I've indicated here, we're going to learn 1 or 2 things about the history of robots, as well as the different types of robots that are used within the environmental sciences. and the explanation of the environmental sciences and different types of robots that contribute to the environmental sciences industry and the design of robots used to solve issues facing climate change and other environmental issues. So after the learning units, when you slide down, there's additional resources and then additional and useful URLs. For example, when you're going to click on the history of robots, there's a video that you're going to find there. This is where they give you like a nice timeline of when were the robots founded and. But I encourage you that you can also share some of the links and share with us. Remember, we are a sharing community, and it's very nice to share information as well as to educate others. Here, they're talking about the evolution of robots and then some few robotics that are in the agricultural space, robotic farming for the future, how can drones help animal conservation. So those are some of the few additional resources that we have for you, our online participants. And the last thing, before I forget, I know Dr. Host normally reminds me of this one, saying that I need to mention that these MOOCs are zero rated, meaning that your data is not being used whilst you're on these MOOCs. So before I talk more about this, I just want us to get some bit of understanding of what the environmental sciences is in a practical way, whereby someone can explain it and even perhaps share some few technological devices that they're using. I would like to welcome Ms. Mutene. She's from the geography department. Ms. Mutene, are you in?
I am here, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the session today. Do you have something to share with us today, or would you like to say something?
Yes, I do. I do have something to share. If you can allow me to please to share my screen also.
Yes, ma'am. The rights have been given. Over to you.
Thank you. Oh, do I switch on my camera?
The choice is yours. The choice is yours.
I'll switch on for the first part just for everyone to see who I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I hope you are doing well. As introduced, I am Sylvia Motene from the Department of Geography here at UNISA. I hope you have seen my face now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Before I start with my presentation, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and also for the opportunity to present one of the topics which we deal with in our modules. In our module, which is world issues, a geographical perspective. I teach this module together with Mrs. Vieta Kutsia, and my presentation will be about acidification in the natural environment. And we will look also at the technologies that may be used to combat acidification. You may already know that some of the causes of acidification involve the things which help us live comfortably.
Stop you, Ms. Mutene?
Yes?
Can you please share your screen if you are sharing it?
I'm not sharing at the moment. I will start
okay.
sharing. Okay, but let me just have my presentation on.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay. You know what?
Sweet. Thank you.
Okay, I will share when I'm presenting. Thank you. Yes, as I was saying, that you may know that some of the causes of acidification involve the things which help us live comfortably. For example, think about life before and life after load shedding was implemented. Right now, you have to think about being stuck in traffic because there is load shedding and traffic lights are not working, or getting disconnected from an online meeting because of an unscheduled load shedding. Otherwise, you could have prevented it ahead of time. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but you know, we are in Mzansi. And yeah, that's the story. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but fortunately, technology is here to save us. The part you may miss will be recorded. There are other examples. I'm just using load shedding because it affects us tremendously. It affects businesses, how we live, how we travel. The activities that we need to get done, when we get them done, it affects internet connectivity, etc. We have become so reliant on electricity that some of our devices and appliances become, I don't know how to say useless, but not so useful when there's no electricity. So it is a situation we would avoid if there were other alternatives. Fortunately, there are technological solutions. When I say this, it reminds me of one of the environmental worldviews, which is the technocentric worldview. Simply put, it says technology can keep pace with and provide solutions to environmental problems. If I was to paraphrase this, I would say we develop through technology, and if we get in trouble with nature because we cannot reproduce the natural resources, then we go back to the same technology for it to bail us out, to get us out of the trouble. I am not saying that I stand by this worldview. I think we should use natural resources sustainably without being over-reliant on technology. So why am I talking about electricity and load shedding? Well, the generation of electricity is one of the contributing factors that emits pollutants into the atmosphere, resulting in what you may call acid rain, acid precipitation, acid deposition, which is the same thing. And I will also touch on this again in the presentation. I would like to mention that although I will be discussing the technology used in the possible solutions that can combat acidification, I will not delve much into them. I have included references in the presentation, which you may look at later on. What we do, we provide awareness on acidification, its causes and associated impacts, and also the solutions that may help us minimize the effects of acidification. So now what I'm going to do is to start sharing my screen. I hope I find it. There we go. Okay, so it is acidification in the environment. As I said, I do this module with Mrs. Rieta Kutia. This is the outline. Okay, as I said in my preface, which was fairly long, we may call it acid rain, acid precipitation, or acid deposition. And it is widely regarded as one of the most critical problems of the industrialized world. And then this is where we have factories producing goods and so on. So acid rain is associated with emissions of sulfur and nitrogen during the burning of fossil fuels, such as coal and oil in power stations, industrial steam boilers or generators, and in combustion in vehicle engines. These pollutants come in contact with water vapor, oxygen, and sunlight in the atmosphere to form an acidic mixture. It could be sulfuric or nitric acid or hydrogen chloride. What we know about these pollutants is that they are not localized. So the effects of acid rain are not localized. You may find that the source is in one region, but the effects of acidification of acid rain are experienced in another. As you may know, that wind is not stationary. We have mentioned that these pollutants are emitted into the atmosphere, so they can be blown from one area to another. So that is why you may have a source at one point, but then the effects of acid rain are experienced in another area. I will now from here on call it acid rain. But then here, acid rain or acid deposition is a broad term that includes many forms of precipitation with acidic components, such as sulfuric or nitric acid that fall to the ground from the atmosphere. It could be in the form of dry or wet composition. This is an example of a coal-fired power station emitting pollutants into the atmosphere. And if I go back there, you can see that those emissions are not contained in those structures that you are seeing. They're being blown by the wind. Hence, you cannot say that acidification, the adverse effects of acidification will be experienced where the pollutants are coming from or originating from. And then here we have a picture. It's a fairly old data from 2011. It shows the acid deposition over the eastern part of South Africa. As you can see that in Mpumalanga there, it has the highest amount of acid deposition. And then this is contributed to by the mining activities that are happening in the province. Acidification has adverse effects, and before I go to those effects or impacts, the sources of acidification are both man-made and natural. So the man-made sources the combustion of fossil fuels, as I have mentioned in the previous slide, and natural sources are volcanic eruptions, lightning, and fires. Acid deposition reaches the Earth's surface in the form of particulates. It ends up in rivers, lakes, thereby affecting soils and plants, even influences human-made structures. How we see the impact of acid rain on vegetation is that it increases soil acidity, it changes nutrient availability, thereby making the soils infertile, inhibiting the growth of plants or new growth of plants. It mobilizes toxic metals. So when these pollutants fall to the ground, they what's the word? Yes, they allow metals to be released from the ground and end up in waterways and making the soil more toxic. It causes leaching of important soil chemicals and changes species composition and decomposer microorganisms in soils. So if we have those decomposing microorganisms, if the soil is not conducive for them to live in, they're going to die out or change in composition. How we see that vegetation or trees are being affected, we will see thinning of crowns of the trees, decreased resistance to drought, diseases, and frost. We will also see damage to needles. These are of coniferous trees, such as pine trees, tree leaves, and tree barks. What we also see is the reduced abundance of birds because now their habitats have been destroyed, and there's now also reduction in food availability for them to survive. Acid deposition has an impact on freshwater ecosystem. It releases aluminium in soils, which in its dissolved form can be toxic to fish. It increases the mobilization of toxic metals into soil and waterways. So when this aluminium is in water, it obstructs the gills of fish. And when this happens, obviously, it will also affect the population of fish. There will be a decline in reproduction abilities. And the loss of fish has a knock-on effect on the food chain. It will also result in the decline and extinction of fish populations. Now we're moving on to the impacts of ocean acidification. It is estimated that the ocean absorbs about 30% of the carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere from human activities. And ocean acidification occurs when carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is absorbed into the ocean. It reacts with water molecules to form carbonic acid. And a series of these chemical reactions result in the increased concentration of hydrogen ions. So as you look at the pH scale, acid rain or acid deposition would be less than 5.2. It varies on which source you are reading from, but it's less than 5.2 on the pH scale. When you have this increased hydrogen ions, it means that the solution or the water becomes more acidic. So, oh, sorry, my phone is going off here. Okay. So, ocean acidification can affect marine species because some or many of the marine organisms have calcium carbonate CaCO3 shells or skeletons. So if the pH declines, it becomes more acidic. CO3 or carbonate becomes less available, making it more difficult for organisms to form their skeletal material. And the distribution of warm water corals will be dramatically reduced through lower rates of calcification and more fragile skeletons. The lower pH in water could change the behavior and reproduction of marine organisms because the water is no longer conducive for them to live optimally. And higher concentrations of dissolved carbon dioxide could alter the ability of marine plants to photosynthesize. And like the reduced fish population, this will also have a knock-on effect on the food chain, because if trees or plants are not able to photosynthesize, those marine species that depend on them will not have food to live and reproduce. Acidification has an impact on human health. So particles of the pollutants that cause acid rain, that is sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide, can be harmful to humans. Sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide react in the atmosphere to form fine sulfate and nitrate particles that people can inhale into their lungs. And it affects respiratory and cardiovascular systems by increasing mortality and impaired pulmonary functions. And the inhalation of aerosols and acidic vapors exacerbates the effects of asthma and the risk of bronchitis. Moving on, acid rain obviously contaminates water, and heavy metals such as cadmium, nickel, lead, manganese, and mercury may reach humans through contaminated fish. So the water is contaminated, the fish consume the water, or they eat fish that is also contaminated with all these compounds or elements. Then these heavy metals, they may cause brain damage and bone disorders in humans. And in addition to this, high levels of lead in drinking water may cause Alzheimer's disease and senile dementia. We have said previously that acidification has an impact on human-made structures. The most notable effects occur on marble and limestone, which are common building materials found in many historical structures and monuments and gravestones. sulfur dioxide, an acid rain precursor, can react directly with limestone in the presence of water to form gypsum, which eventually flakes off or is dissolved by water. Acid rain can dissolve limestone and marble through direct contact. This is an example. I know it's not so pretty. So, fortunately, there are solutions to mitigate the effects of acid rain. There are several solutions, and these include regulating the emissions coming from vehicles and buildings, conservation of energy and use of renewable energy instead of burning fossil fuels. There are also technologies that can reduce the emission of pollutants from power stations and industrial sources. Here are the 3 technologies that we can use to try and limit emissions of industrial pollutants which cause acid rain. We have fuel desulfurization, fluidized bed technology, and flue gas desulfurization. So the fuel desulfurization, it removes sulfur from coal before it is burnt. These processes minimize contamination whilst improving the efficiency of petroleum products. It produces greener fuel and sulfur-free environment. It reduces the amount of hazardous sulfur dioxide in the environment, which leads to or causes acid rain. With fluidized bed technology, it reduces sulfur dioxide emissions during combustion, while flue gas desulfurization involves removing or scrubbing sulfur gases before they are released into the atmosphere. In conclusion, the best approach to adopt in controlling acid rain is that prevention is better than cure. So we need to reduce the pollutant emissions that cause acid rain. However, the socio-economic and political situation in some countries make it very difficult to reduce pollutant emissions in practice, because pollutants that are released into the atmosphere cannot be contained within a city or a province or political boundary. There are many complications in controlling acid rain. As I mentioned, you see, we have the global atmospheric circulations. We have the wind blowing pollutants in the air or particles in the air from one area to another. The impacts of acid rain, they affect everything and everyone. They affect humans, the environment, vegetation, and animals. So in some cases, permanent the effects of acid rain may be permanent or irreversible. For example, if we have soils that have been contaminated, it will be difficult to get them to be fertile again for plants to grow in them. Okay, so that is the end. Okay, we have the references here. If you'd like to visit and do more reading on what I've shared, I would like to say thank you once again for the opportunity. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Ms. Mutena, thank you so much. You got me thinking, and I hope also our online participants are thinking as well. You mentioned 3 technologies that can be used to try to limit emissions of industrial pollutants that are causing acid rain. And you mentioned fuel desulfurization. How do I pronounce that word?
Say again?
That technology that you mentioned, that you said.
Oh, we have 3 of them. Is the
yes.
fuel desulfurization.
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 Oh, okay. So just kindly please wait there, just for the benefit of our viewers. So this desulfurization is a set of technologies that is used to remove the sulfur dioxide from exhaust flue gas of fossil fuel power plants. So this is like that kind of like a gas power plant that removes sulfur dioxide, because as you mentioned, sulfur dioxide is one of those effects that affect the environment, right?
Correct.
And then there's that one, like these words are nice and scientific. There's this one, say it's fluidized bed technology. How do I pronounce that one?
Fluidized bed technology.
Oh, fluidized. So everything is about flu, eh? So fluidized bed technology for online participants. That one is applied to both combustion and gasification processes because of its variety. So this is part of the technologies that are currently being introduced to limit greenhouse gas emissions, for example, to limit things like global warming and climate change. And then there's that other one that you mentioned, the last one, it's flue gas.
Yes.
Yes, it's flue gas. What's the word?
Desulfurization.
Oh, this one is also used to remove sulfur dioxide, I guess, no?
Correct.
So now if any of our participants are watching this and they would like to, pursue careers into such industries where they can work in such areas and they can, stand up and say that I'm a flue gas desulfurizationist. What kind of subjects can they select in high school, and which universities? I know, of course, UNISA, and which qualifications? Just in a minute, perhaps.
Okay, thank you. You know what? I would strongly suggest that they do follow this career path, because as I was going, or maybe when we're developing this module, this particular topic, there is ongoing research about this, and it's not yet finalized that it is concrete and we have the perfect solution. What they would need to, subjects that they will need to do, is to do subjects that will allow them to have a degree in at UNISA, for example. Yes, we encourage everyone to come here. As geography.
Yeah.
And I would have to confirm. I will put it in the chat when I find it. But definitely, you need to have a geography in high school, and your life sciences and physical sciences. Because as I was doing earlier, one document, it did show for environmental management qualification, you may also need to have mathematics.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mutena, for your lovely presentation. Really appreciate it. Due to time, I won't take questions for now. I'd like to introduce another guest. Her name is Kinosi. Kindly please unmute yourself, Ms. Kinosi. She is from Dare to Dream. She is currently in Botswana. I think she's in Gaborone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello. How's it, Kinosi?
Yes. Hello.
There we go. How are you?
Yes, I'm great. Thanks. And you, Tumelo?
I'm well. Thank you so much. Welcome to South Africa Online. Thank you so much
and
for being part
welcome
of
to
us.
Botswana.
Yeah. You mentioned. Okay. Kindly please tell us, where are you from?
I work for an organization called Dare to Dream. This is a non-profit organization dedicated to the advancement of youth, women, and girls. And we try to encourage them to pursue careers that are related to STEM.
So, Ms. Kinosi, I just introduced one of the careers that are scarce. As you heard from one of the lecturers, she mentioned that there's ongoing research in such career. What's your take on this session that's just taken part? Well, what's your take?
Well, some of the terms that she said were like New to me, honestly. Well, desulfurization.
Yeah.
But it's something worth having a look at. Actually, last year, we have a robotics and coding program called the First Egolikia. Last year, we partnered with Dapswana Joanna Mine, and we had a research project with some of the students from the neighboring schools around Jwaneng, and they were trying to look for solutions that would help the mine dispose of the waste in sustainable and environmentally friendly ways. So as she was talking, I was reminded of some of the projects that the students came up with. Yes, so yeah, I know.
All right.
Yes.
So yes, I saw that, or I heard that you said you've got a video for us. Before showing us a video, you are mentioning that you have a group of learners specifically targeting young girls. Am I right?
Yes, most of our programs are targeted at young learners, especially the girl child, mostly from underprivileged communities.
Okay.
Yes, you find that within rural areas, I don't know about you guys there in South Africa, but here, because of the socio-cultural norms, the girls are basically lagging behind. You find that some are told it's no use going to school and stuff like that. So we are trying to, I don't know, trying to educate the communities that the girls come from and educating them on the types of opportunities that are available for them out there, like and trying to bridge the gap between the urban and the rural communities, basically. Yeah.
All right. So we have just introduced robotics and environmental sciences in a different view to you. I hope you also take this and introduce it to the young upcoming scientists, especially the young girl child that you were mentioning. So for the purposes of our online participants, I'll hand over to you the floor for you to show us the video and some of the robotics or fun activities that you guys do with the future generation. Over to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tumelo. Basically, the video that I want to share is about Dare to Dream and what we do. Let me just try to. Okay.
While you are busy there, for our viewers or our online participants, if you do have questions, kindly please post them on the chat box while she's currently trying to fight that. And yes. Oh yeah.
Can you see my screen? Is that a question?
Yes, I can see your screen. Go ahead.
Okay, here's the video.
Captain Komoto Patima. I'm one of the first female military pilots in Botswana Defence Force. I'm also the president and founder of Dare to Dream Foundation. I grew up in a small village called Dumadumani, just a stone throw from Zaisratakama International Airport. When I was growing up, I used to see aeroplanes passing over my mother's thatched roof house. From an early young age, I knew I was born to fly. I used to walk barefoot to school because I come from very humble beginnings. And when I finished my Form 5 with very high flying colors, I told my mother that I wanted to fly. She said, no, we are too poor. During her time, girls could not even dream about being pilots. I should go to the university and become a teacher. I did, with a heavy heart, went to University of Botswana and studied Bachelor of Education Science in Mathematics and Physics, and ultimately became a teacher. I taught at Good Hope for 8 months, mathematics. After 8 months, the Botswana Defence Force decided to enlist its first female military pilot. I knew that nobody was going to stand on my back. I left teaching and joined the army. My mother cried. But I told her, no, mother, this is my dream. This is what resonates in my heart. This is what I want. So I went into the army. The first year was very, very painful. They made us walk kilometers only cars could travel. I used to walk 120 kilometers in all kinds of weather conditions. I learned tactics. I learned how to shoot a gun. I learned martial arts. I learned all sorts of things, leadership, and how to lead men to war. It was a beautiful and exciting experience. I was one of the first female officers to be trained in Botswana. So after that, I went to Tebepaso Air Base. We trained for 18 months as one of the first female pilots in the country. After 18 months, I was transferred to Francistown Air Base. As you know, the Okavango Delta and up there in Maun, there are a lot of poachers who are killing our elephants and rhinos. I was deployed there as a pilot and an aviation safety officer, helping the ground forces with air power. We used to do aerial patrols. We used to take food for soldiers. We used to transport soldiers around Botswana. So I had the privilege to be part of young people who are helping the country in curbing poaching. After qualifying as one of the first female military pilots, I looked back and said, when I was growing up, I never had a chance to sit down like this with a pilot. Now, had I had any chance to sit inside an aeroplane until I had the opportunity to fly it, I started Dare to Dream to inspire the next generation, but especially the girls and those who come from underprivileged families and rural backgrounds like myself, that it is possible for you to come from nothing and be something in life. So that's why I started Dare to Dream. And then I have been in the army for 10 years. In those 10 years, I started Dare to Dream and had the opportunity to be chosen by the 44th President of the United States as one of the young leaders changing the narrative of our communities, our country, and the African continent. I was taken to the United States of America for the International Visitor Leadership Program. We had a tour of the United States of America. I think we went to around 15 to 20 states in the United States on a leadership tour. I also won the Commonwealth Point of Light Award by Her Majesty the Queen, the British High Commissioner. I also was given the Best Female of the Year 2017. Through this, I was still in the army at the same time, traveling the world. So in 2019, I decided that I was leaving the army after serving for 10 years so that I can fully focus on my foundation as well as on my business that I will tell you about.
But what was what was finally the turning point for your family, especially your mother, to, allow you or be at ease with you pursuing your dream of flying?
I would say that there was never a turning point because my mother kept on telling me that every time when there was an accident of a plane maybe crashing somewhere, my mother will call and make sure that it wasn't me. She was never settled throughout my journey. And she told me that, Wanaka, go to school and work in the office. Little did she know that the aeroplanes is my office, the cockpit is my office. But I went to school and studied my master's in strategic management with a focus on aviation safety from the University of David. Yeah, so in the military, I was also an aviation safety specialist because of my master's and also air pilot. So even if she was not really happy with me, I managed to study, like she was saying, that I should study more so that I can work in the office.
Just listening to that, we realize that limiting beliefs are normally conditioned into, people's outlook on life. It may be because of, their background or the generation within which they grew up.
Sorry, Ms. Kinoti, please unmute yourself. It just went muted. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Ms. Kinoti, please. Ms. Kinoti, you are muted.
Quite good work that we do so that we can talk
Okay.
about that it is possible for young girls to go into these fields. So sometimes
All
it's
right.
even about
Thank
the
you
way
so
our
much, Ms. Kinoti.
not many girls get into the
Can you
science,
please,
technology, piloting, and aeronautics fields. It's something that is not really done. Also, most importantly, the culture. My mother said during our time, a girl child could never even dream of flying planes. It is indebted in our culture. So as the world changes, I think as parents, as teachers, we should really help our young people and let them pursue their dreams, even if it's a path.
all right, Ms. Kinoti, thank you so much for your video.
All right.
I was just told that you are the one who hosts also the First Local League competitions in Botswana.
Yes, yeah, we hosted in 2019 and last year, 2020 and 21, obviously because of COVID, so we could not host at all.
All right.
Yeah.
This year you are hosting, right?
Obviously, yes, of course. We're gonna have a bigger and better competition than last year. And
Right.
having been able to come to South Africa last year and see how you guys do it out there, I think, yeah, I think
All
we're gonna
right.
do it so much better than we did it
All
last
right.
year.
This year I've been granted permission to come at Botswana, so I'll be
Oh,
definitely
awesome.
coming.
Awesome. Would love to have you.
Otherwise, thank you so much, Ms. Kinoti. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ms. Kinoti from Dare to Dream. They are based in Botswana. The nice thing about them is that they encourage the young ones to pursue different types of careers, and they are raising awareness of a young child, specifically a girl child, trying to, look into different avenues of pursuing careers. So the reason why we also included them was to say that we also have different types of careers as well as in the environmental sciences space. And yes, without wasting time, I'd like to say thank you so much to you online participants. Because of we don't have enough time, I'm going to stop the recording.